Pennsylvania coal fueled America's Industrial Revolution. But when early property owners sold their mineral rights, they could never have imagined the massive longwall operations 600 feet below and the havoc they would wreak. Longwall coal mining is a relentless, industry-created earthquake, shattering homes and family businesses, creating a climate of chronic stress, and literally drying up southwestern Pennsylvania's water resources. Unlike traditional room and pillar mining, the longwall method leaves no supports behind. As the shearer creeps forward with its hydraulic ceiling, the earth above collapses into the mined-out void. Extending 5,000 square miles into 4 states, the famous Pittsburgh Seam has been mined for 2 centuries. But until 30 years ago, when longwall technology arrived from Europe, the heart of the seam in Greene and Washington counties remained largely inaccessible. Today, 8 active longwall mines, led by the giant German firms Consol Energy and RAG International, extract more than 50 million tons of bituminous coal each year, principally for use in power plants. In 1994, the Pennsylvania legislature passed industry-backed amendments to the State Subsidence Act. Restrictions protecting older homes from undermining were scrapped, allowing the longwall to travel virtually anywhere for coal. Act 54 requires mining companies to replace lost water supplies and to repair or compensate property owners for structural damages. Act 54 also relies on existing water quality laws to protect the region's intricate web of springs, streams, ponds, and wetlands. But the state agency responsible for enforcing these laws, the Department of Environmental Protection, has instead routinely ignored them when granting the permits the longwall mining industry needs to operate. Spreading for hundreds of square miles underground, longwall panels are typically 1,000 feet wide and 2 to 3 miles long. Workers and machines move around the perimeter in tunnels called gates, and above the gates there is little subsidence. But between the gates, subsidence at the surface is inevitable, averaging between 3 and 5 feet. So, what happens to streams when the longwall goes under?
You have a stream bed like this, and it'll actually sag in the middle like this, and it forms a dish shape.
Enlow Fork travels along state game lands on the border of Greene and Washington County. But since undermining, only half of Enlow still flows like it used to.
You notice how narrow the stream is here. This is a prime habitat for darters and minnows like stone rollers. And these are prey items for the larger fish that we like to catch, like smallmouth bass.
52% of Enlow Fork has subsided, creating deep pools backed up with sediment where life at the bottom of the aquatic food chain suffocates.
Like right here.
The U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service has studied 130 streams in active mining areas. Nearly half have dry reaches or reduced flow and are suffering the impacts of longwall subsidence. Another stream, Laurel Run, once flowed steadily into 10 Mile Creek at Waynesburg. Undermining cracked Laurel's stream bed, and the coal company's answer was to seal it with grout. Biologist Lou Reynolds chronicled Laurel Run's demise, from a perennial stream to essentially a stormwater channel.
Okay, here's Laurel Run on August 2nd, and that's the stream bed I was walking in a month ago. There is the big subsided pool, now completely dry. Remember, there was water right around those trees right there.
And what fed Laurel Run? Feeder streams, lost to subsidence from other nearby longwall panels. Many of these seeps and springs flowed from the upland aquifers at Dick Patterson's Hilltop Cattle Farm.
Well, I've got lots of water, lots of it. You wouldn't believe the amount of water that's going down through this hallway down to you. Now this is my spring to the house. There's 1,100 gallon in there.
3 separate longwall panels hit Patterson's property, and 6 of his 7 springs were lost. 2 downhill ponds the springs fed were also hit.
That was a good clean pond, lots of fish, and they just drained it, you know. And they went in there and tried to fix it, but there's no water coming in there, only runoff. That's all that's in there. That's just no good at all.
As the land fractures and is dewatered, the structures that people have built are shattered too. Between Dick Patterson's place and Laurel Run lies Kent Farm. Approximately 540,000 tons of coal, worth millions of dollars, would be taken from beneath its 102 acres.
The coal company has told us that the house is going to drop 4 foot 7 inches. There's no framing in the house at all. It's all 3 brick thick, inside, outside, and if one corner drops, it's going to be like dominoes.
Murray and Laureen Williams spent 10 years restoring historic Kent Farm and 3 years fighting to stop the Longwall. Coal companies often simply offer financial settlements in advance of mining. But by law, an historic home must be returned to its exact original condition.
They could go around us, but they don't want to lose any money. They do own the mineral rights under our property. However, our legislators have written such poor laws that we're really losing out.
So, RAG Emerald Resources trenched and trussed up Kent Farm with cables and pressure gauges, and the brittle brick-on-stone farmhouse became a showcase for mitigation efforts. But family life was disrupted. Field cracks opened and closed, the foundation cracked, and the house subsided as predicted.
Now, Saturday afternoon, we know that they were under the pond and running.
They were right here.
What happened to the water? It's like a mud hole there now.
This bubble was right in the center. When we came in this morning, it was just barely over this second line there.
When you crack the brick like that, there's always going to be a weak place there.
If you put into the price of coal per ton, the damage to people's health, to their property and everything else, you'll find coal isn't the cheapest of energies.
There's 10 or 12 train loads of coal with 100 tons per car that goes out of this area every day, 24 hours a day. It's staggering.
Even for unique homes like the Thrall's House, owned by Diane and Roy Brendel, there is no protection from longwall mining in Pennsylvania.
That's a rounded turret. Very unusual. It's one of the architectural features. Usually when we have people come to the house, they come in the main entrance, but as you can see, it's not going to happen today.
For every homeowner, preparing for undermining is like preparing for an earthquake. And mitigation efforts by the coal company to limit damage in advance can cause as much chaos as the mining itself.
They're going to put a wall clear up to here and then over and then down, supposedly to stabilize things or something.
This has all been trenched. This has all been trenched. Trenching around the whole house. The theory, I assume, is that the trenches will absorb some of the shock from the shock wave from the underground mining. I'm no engineer, but that's what they say.
There hasn't been a moment's peace, and there hasn't been much sleep either.
By law, historic properties are protected from the adverse effects caused by mining. But despite engineering reports predicting serious damage here, the DEP and the Federal Office of Surface Mining signed off on plans by the coal company Consol to proceed.
A lot of my friends have said it's dangerous to stay there and everything like that, but we're staying. This is our life. This is everything. It's right here in these boxes. And,
I'm not going to leave it.
Well, it fell 13 inches here so far.
How many inches did the ruler go into the crack?
9.
9 inches. Be careful.
That's the wall. That's the
inside wall.
Already. We've had wonderful well water, and they said for sure they'll be bringing buffaloes in.
This is what's left of the pool.
You can just plunge your whole hand through there.
It's definitely stuck.
It used to be a running creek. Now it's just a pool.
Do you remember how beautiful this was?
I want my home. I want my way of life.
It's completely disrupted our lives.
The Armstrongs have gone, the Burnett's are on their way out, the Calverts are on their way out, and all those homes,
Sure, another panel.
grass is all growing up, and they're all left abandoned. The community is disintegrating.
Undermined communities appear to be falling apart. But in some places where the Longwall hasn't arrived yet, people are pulling together. Near the village of Lone Pine, the DEP is under fire for granting a 7,200-acre expansion permit to Consol's massive 84 mine. In 2004, 400 homes and farms with numerous springs and streams are scheduled for undermining. Plus, the Longwall would make multiple passes under Interstate 79.
The letter that I received said that you will be here at 6 o'clock with maps. Now, do you have maps?
Those maps are placed in the county courthouse, so they can be viewed there.
Meeting after meeting, the degree of frustration increases. Most people here purchased their homes before the law changed in 1994 and allowed the coal company to literally pull out the coal from beneath them.
They're going to use your permit to influence the court. DEP approved it.
Right now, there's nobody can even drink the water on my road. You can't drink your own water.
For many of us, the dream that we aspired to have is being taken from us.
As the Longwall approaches, the pressure is on to document springs, streams, and wells in the permit area before it's too late. And neighbors are networking door to door.
You want how many wells, how many springs. We'd be glad to fill this out, and I think everybody in the area should have one, because the water, without the water, we don't
Without
have
the water,
that.
we have nothing. It's as precious as air to us.
Within just a 2-mile radius of the Ancrams' house, more than 80 of their neighbors also have homes, farms, and water they don't want to sacrifice.
We used to think in the early stages that our homes and the structures were the biggest concern. But the long-term issue is, what do we do on this farm with no water? How does my son, how does my daughter, how do my grandchildren continue to have that water when the mine's out of business?
We have 7 people that are using the water and 7 horses. Probably go through at least 500 gallons of water a day in the summer times. This land will be completely useless. You can't farm it, you can't live on it, you can't have livestock on it. What are you going to do with no water?
More than 150,000 acres have been or are being undermined in Greene and Washington counties, including 5,000 homes and other structures and hundreds of streams and springs. Plastic-wrapped water buffaloes dot the countryside and mark the dewatering of the land. The assault on society's infrastructure extends to road damage, the upheaval of gas pipelines, and the drilling of methane vents to prevent explosions. Much of this damage is underwritten by utility customers and taxpayers. As the coal is extracted and the Longwall pushes forward into the Pittsburgh Seam, coal companies no longer pay coal property taxes to the municipalities and school districts in their wake. Within 10 to 15 years, most of the currently active mines will be depleted, and in Washington and especially in poor Greene County, a major fiscal crisis is looming. Pennsylvania coal provided energy and jobs, but today coal miners have been largely replaced by mining machinery, and the indirect costs of coal are escalating. Abandoned mine pollution, acid rain, global climate change, and the toxic health effects of power plant emissions. The true cost of coal must also include Longwall subsidence. Much of the damage can never be repaired, but future damage can be prevented. The state legislature can amend the mining laws to protect Pennsylvania's homes, farms, businesses, and historic properties. And the Department of Environmental Protection must enforce Pennsylvania's Clean Streams Law to protect the surface waters of the Commonwealth from further subsidence damage. All Pennsylvanians lose when our environment is plundered and our people are accorded less respect than a lump of coal.